First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate you being here with us. Of course, we are live on our YouTube channel, our Facebook, on our apps, and our website. And it is 1:30 p.m. Pacific on a Thursday, which means it's time for Eric G. to join us. Eric, from around the house Northwest, it is always so good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you.
And you always have so much knowledge for everybody. Like every week, I know I'm learning something. I know we're going to get a preview of this week's Around the House Northwest episode. But there's some really important things that you brought up that you wanted to talk about, one of which is right there on the screen, which is homeowners and renters insurance. Very, very important things.
Super important things, and it's something that really affects everybody because somebody's got to live someplace, right? So if you're renting or owning, these are both things that you should be paying attention to, because if you've noticed out there, things got a lot more expensive over the last couple of years, right?
Yes. Yes, they have. Very much so.
And my question is, are you insured for that?
Yeah, that is I am, but I know some people who are not.
Because you think about it, okay, people go, oh, my house increased in value by 40% over the last 7 or 8 years, right?
Right.
Did you increase your insurance by that much or more?
That's a very good question.
So, and there's a lot of things too that you've got to pay attention to. Is one, you know, when you look at your insurance at first, you go, oh my gosh, that's not a lot of money. But many times when it's a homeowner's policy, you have the land and you have the building. So a lot of times it's replacement of the building. So don't freak out over that. But from what I've seen, a lot of people out there, you can't build your house for what you're insured for, which becomes a lot of problems out there. And, you know, there's so many different things when you're filing insurance claims, you really got to pay attention to, because you can kind of hurt yourself how you file a claim. So there's some common sense things that you should pay attention to when you're dealing with insurance companies to make sure that you're doing it correctly and you're getting covered. Well, I mean, that's definitely something interesting to think about. So you should be every year taking a look at it and updating it. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, because here's what happens. So many people jump online, they find their favorite online provider, they place the order for their insurance and they never forget it. You know, they either pay for it then or monthly payments, whatever they do, and nobody ever pays attention to it. In the old days, when you had an agent, maybe they would sit there and look at it and go, hey, you know, you're underinsured. So, you know, I think dealing with a person is always good. But even when I was dealing with a person recently, when I upped mine again, I looked at it and went, man, I still can't build my house for that. And you got to take into account a lot of different things. One, labor has gone up so much. Materials have gone up. You know, HVAC stuff, I think, is up 200% over what it was a handful of years ago. So you need to make sure that you're covered with that. And then if you have to file a claim, make sure that you file the claim correctly, because, you know, somebody breaks a pipe in their house, they call it a flood, right? Oh, I flooded my kitchen. Right. You didn't flood your kitchen. You had a pipe break. Because the word flood technically means water from outside the building coming into the building, like a river or a lake or something like that. And a flood, you have to have many times flood insurance for it. So whether you broke a pipe, never call it a flood. It's a broken pipe. And that's all just depends on the wording that you send in, and then they'll take it from there. Even if they know that's not actually a flood, since you said flood, that's what'll happen. You got to be careful with it. And, you know, insurance companies are there to be profitable. And many times they're not happy about making claims out there. And, you know, there's great companies, there's not so great companies out there. But when it comes down to it, you want to make sure you're using the right terms and you have the right coverage. And there's so many things that you can have. Like for me, I have a writer because I have a lot of tools behind me. So I make sure that they know what my tools are. Do you have artwork? Do you need earthquake insurance? Because many times your home isn't covered. If we have a big earthquake, you're not covered in many cases. So, okay, well, how's that going to happen? So there's a lot of different things that you need to make sure that you've got those riders and coverage for to make sure that, that you're good to go. All right. So that is a lot to think about. So anybody out there with a home, but then there's also renter's insurance, which is another really important thing. It is. It's a really good one. And that's one of those things that, again, make sure that you can replace the things you have. If you're in that apartment or rental situation, whether it's a house or whatever else, make sure that you can replace the items you have and that you're covered, because that's a key right there to make sure that you're covered. Get a lot more insurance than what you need. It's not that expensive, especially in renter's insurance. So that way you're not out, hitting the thrift stores looking for a couch when you're just trying to replace the one you bought last year.
I can tell you a horror story about renter's insurance that happened to myself. So I had an apartment at one point, and I was paying for renter's insurance, and you're right, it's not very expensive. I don't know what it was, like 20 bucks a month or something like that, maybe even less. And I decided that, what do I need that expense for? And so I got rid of it. And about 2 months later, I had a pillow fall onto a baseboard heater, and the baseboard heater was faulty and never turned off and ignited and burned my apartment. So because I didn't have renter's insurance, it was a giant fiasco. I had no coverage for anything. And so what I'm saying is, the bottom line is, learn from that mistake. Everybody, get renter's insurance because it will save you a lot of hassle. Yeah,
and ask questions too. Like, for instance, I had an issue 15 years ago where I came home when I was living in Seattle, and I had the old style, like, barn sliding garage doors on my 1920s house I was in. And I came home and I saw the doors laying in the driveway. Somebody had hooked a chain to it and pulled them off the building, all my tools. Well, the problem was that I had insurance coverage on it. So I had like 10,000 bucks worth of insurance coverage, which would at that time replace my tools. But the problem was I didn't read the fine print. And so what happened was they paid me like 1,500 bucks. Then I had to go out and buy the replacements, and months later that they would reimburse me. But being a guy that was in renting at the time, I didn't have $7,000 in my pocket to go buy tools for 2 months and let them reimburse me. So I did not get all my tools back because I just didn't have the cash flow at that time to do that, because I was in a tight spot. So make sure that you read and understand how things pay out, what your coverages are. And then when in doubt, take a look. You can actually get outside insurance adjusters that'll help you on your side, help negotiate through the process on bigger claims. So they're independent adjusters that can help you navigate it.
That's really good knowledge, because I mean, that's going to be a bad situation when it's never going to be a pleasant situation if you have to file a claim, but to making sure that you get everything taken care of, that's great info. So really good stuff right there. Bottom line, check your insurance policies, make sure you have insurance if you're a renter, and follow the great advice. Okay, I know we've got our next topic here, which let me just update. And this is one that you wanted to bring up. And this, I feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff that maybe people don't know about.
We can do hours on this, but we won't today, But some of the stuff that's interesting, like people walk into a home improvement store, into a big box retailer, and they're trying to solve a problem in their house. And they go, oh, I bought it off the shelf, I put it in my house. Well, the problem is many things inside the home improvement store don't meet building code, but they still sell it. So make sure you understand what your building code is. Just because it's for sale doesn't mean you should use it in your house.
Gotcha. So so how do you go about checking on that?
A little online research. These days, it's a lot easier. You can jump on and find the International Building Code. I think Oregon, we run off the 2018. So you can jump online and there's free viewers. You can take a look at it. When in doubt, ask a professional to find out what the proper way of doing it is. Many times the issues I see are plumbing ones, like under a sink where they're using the wrong pieces or they're putting them in backwards, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of great resources out there. Jump online and take a look. There's a lot of stuff that's spelled out. And, when in doubt, phone a friend or send us a message to the show and I'll help you. But, that's kind of where that is. And the other one is that I see too, it's a big one as far as home improvement myths. If you have bleach like on the wall, you have mold on the wall, they use bleach to clean it up. Don't use bleach to clean up mold.
I remember you saying that on another one. So don't use bleach. And why was that you're not supposed to use bleach?
Well, because bleach has water in it. So what it doesn't kill, it bleaches and makes it clear. And then, of course, when you go through and the water feeds the bleach, the water in the bleach feeds the mold that wasn't there before. So it's actually feeding the stuff it didn't kill. So you got to be really careful with that. That's another big one right there.
You're creating a monster.
Yeah. So you can really cause a problem. And if it's a toxic style mold, it'll actually send off toxins in the air. So it actually could be more poisonous when you do that versus using one of the right bleach. Test the mold first before you deal with it. That's the best advice.
And what's the best kind of way to wash that if you're not using bleach?
Hydrogen peroxide works well.
Yeah. Okay.
That works well, So
right.
you can use that. There's a lot of other cleaners and paints and things like that you can do, but really hydrogen peroxide does it really well. It knocks it down quick.
Awesome. More great advice. All right. Any other myths?
Yeah. Another one is people go in and buy cheap paint. Like they go in and say, there's the $80 a gallon paint. There's the $20 a gallon paint. The problem is that you'll need probably 3 or 4 of those gallons of the $20 a gallon paint to paint what the 40 gallon would do. So you actually pay more for cheaper paint. So when you get into that bottom stuff, you're going to probably have to buy twice as much, which now negates the savings you have. Buy mid-grade paint and start with there. If you have something where you've got a weird, cool, like velvety texture, or it's going to get a lot of wear, go with the nicer paint. You don't have to go spend $100 a gallon for it. But if you're in that 40 to 60, that's usually where you're starting to get into some decent stuff, no matter what brand you're working with.
So that's the mid-grade paint, and it'll just go further. For at least part of it.
So much better coverage. The other stuff, they use a lot of fillers in the cheap stuff. So literally there is dirt in that paint as to build it body. So when it, has to dry, and when everything like the latexes and stuff go in there, the real earth that they put in that, there's just more of it, and it doesn't hold up as well, and it doesn't cover as well.
Gotcha. Is it going to be also one of the things where you have to do less layers if you're buying the better paint?
Yeah, you can put 1 to 2 coats on, where the other one you could go 3 or 4 sometimes.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it could end up costing you much more just for doing that, for going the cheap route. Very good advice.
One more on the paint side for you too. When you look at the paint in primer in one, that's not primer. That's paint with better coverage. So if you have to prime something where you've got brand new wood or brand new drywall, or you've got a repair you did, or you've got cracked paint, make sure and buy the right primer and then use that as well. But don't think that buying that paint and primer in one is going to save you. It doesn't. You still need to buy a primer. It's just a really cool marketing trick.
Nice. So it's like the shampoo with conditioner in the same bottle. It's not really.
It's not really
the same thing. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Excellent advice. So some great myths debunked. Did you have any other ones?
Those are some of the good ones right there.
Okay.
The other one there is when you walk into the home improvement store, understand in these big box stores that this is the lower end of all the products in that store. So like when you go look at faucets, or you go look at flooring, or you go look at that stuff, you're in the bottom third of the marketplace out there. So you're seeing kind of the entry level stuff in any one of those big box stores. If you want to find nicer things, you have to go to some of the more specialty stuff to get, into the more mid-grade or higher stuff.
All right. All great advice as usual. And I know we also need to talk about this week's episode of Around the House Northwest, which, as always, you're going to be doing something really cool, I'm sure, that we're going to get to see. So what is it this week?
We got a lot of stuff this week. So we go out to the Regrainery in Northeast Portland. They build furniture out there. So it's not just we're talking about in our Made in Northwest segment, we're talking about building furniture. Yeah, here we go. The cool thing here is that there's a ton of woodworking tips in here. So Aaron, who's just a master crafts person, he walks through, we go step by step, and we talk about some of the big steps and some of the tricks that he does in woodworking. And we actually build a cool little black walnut armoire that he starts knocking out of here. So it was really cool that it was just starting from boards and making furniture.
Wow, nice. And that's, as always, somewhere right here close that you actually get to go in and check out. And, another thing where maybe people don't realize it's actually made here locally.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many great craftspeople like that around here, and it's fun to go in there and check those out.
You get to do some cool things.
We have fun.
So what else is on this week's episode?
Oh man, we got so much other stuff. We do some deck repair and restaining. So we go through and put a solid color stain on an old deck, trying to give it another year or two of life. And then we've got so many other things. We actually test out. You've seen the guy on there with the flood repair tape that he's doing, all that stuff. We
Yeah.
test it to see if it actually works. So I actually took my old front door, taped it up, laid it down flat, and filled it up with water to see, does it hold?
Does it actually work? That's so stress testing it right there, and then
Got it.
I'll get to see it. Nice. And as we've always mentioned before, there are a lot of clips of Around the House Northwest too on our Fox 12 YouTube channel that everybody can go there and take a look at. Anything else from this week's episode that you want to mention?
Yeah, another one. We've got a great interview. We're talking with Corbin Clay. He actually helps homeowners by consulting with them during the remodel. So, Greg, if you're going to do a kitchen remodel and, you've got a contractor and you've got a designer giving you stuff and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if these guys have my best interest in mind. You can actually contract with them, and they do Zoom meetings and walk you through and go, hey, they missed something over here. They forgot something. So they're actually your kind of your coach through the process. So it's a cool little thing that they've got for an app and a program for helping homeowners get through those big projects that they've never done before.
Nice. I mean, and you're putting down a lot of money for something like that too. So you want to know you're getting the job done correctly. So that's a great service right there. So and all that's just on this week's episode.
You got it. And then we're out there playing with chainsaws and everything else over at Park Rose Hardware and taking a look at all the latest from steel chainsaws and that stuff too. So we're all over the place in this week's episode.
Nice. And I know you just mentioned the deck thing too. I believe last week you and I talked about decks, or at least one of our previous episodes. So I want to
made a fun little porch on that one out of new products. This one here is just trying to save that old one that maybe you don't have in the budget to replace that deck this year.
Nice. And when can people watch these episodes?
All right. So they'll check last week's episode tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on Fox 12 Plus. This week's show that we're just talking about, 10 a.m. on Saturday on Fox 12 Plus, 6 p.m. on Sunday. If you missed the 10 a.m. one because you're out doing stuff, and again, back on Friday again.
There you go. You can check it out there. You've got multiple opportunities, and as always, a ton of stuff. Each episode has so many things just involved in it, and always having you on here is so great because we get to learn so much here just for this too, the behind the scenes and these debunking myths, everything else that we just talked about today. Eric, so good to see you, and yeah, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, we'll do it.
Awesome. And thanks to everybody, too, for tuning in to Fox 12 Now. Again, this is our live streaming show here from Fox 12 Oregon. We're live on our social media channels, on our apps, on our websites. You can check us out on all of those. And thanks for finding us. I'm going to log off for now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.